Solar, and I'd like to talk to you about cartography. I chose this career because I really like making maps. My favorite maps to make are subway maps and imaginary political maps. Here are a couple of examples of maps that I've made. When I travel to a new place, I always try to get the train and road maps from the area. That's why I chose this career. So what is cartography? Cartography is a map-making career. Cartographers use geographic information to make maps. Maps help us navigate. They can also be used for political, cultural, and educational purposes. People create and use maps as tools to help them define, explain, and better understand our world. Did you know that the earliest maps were made more than 15,000 years ago in caves? This map was drawn on a mammoth tusk and is the oldest maps that survive today. Later maps were made on clay tablets. As technologies improved, maps were drawn with brushes and parchment. These maps date back many centuries. Map makers had a big influence on how we see the world. The invention of the telescope, sextant, and compass enabled cartographers to become more accurate over time. It took a long time for a cartographer to research, draw, and illustrate a map. As a result, only people who were rich or powerful had maps. The invention of the printing press made it easier for more people to have access to maps. Today, maps are made on computers using data and images collected by people on the ground and satellites up in space. So what is it that cartographers do? They create maps using computer tools. They collect and verify all different kinds of data from surveys, reports, aerial photographs, and satellite images, and use this information to make maps. They prepare maps in digital graphic form to be used for many different purposes. They revise existing maps and charts to make corrections, adjustments, and updates according to the new data. They must make decisions about the accuracy of the final map, and they must decide what further information they need to meet their clients' needs. I also talked with Tom Schwartzman, who does geographic information system mapping, about the work that he does.
Work for a company that makes computer software that is used to make maps. It has a fancier name, and that's called Geographic Information Systems, or GIS. I don't know if you ever heard that, but it lets people not only make maps like subway maps and maps of all kinds of things we can talk about, but also lets you ask questions of the maps, like what's the closest thing to me, or what's the best route to get from here to here, or where can I find things of certain types. So it lets us make maps like subway maps and airport maps and street maps and maps of where wildlife live and all kinds of things, but it lets us ask questions of the maps too. So that's what my company does, and I specifically, my role is to help people figure out how they can best use the software to answer the questions they have. And I work with all kinds of people and all kinds of companies, ranging from cities like the city of Boston and the city of New York and the city of Philadelphia, to small towns, and also into organizations like Starbucks or McDonald's, or and they're looking at places like, well, where should we open a store? Where do the people who like our coffee or eat our food live? What would be the best place to open our store given all that? So there's a lot of maps involved in what I do. When I think about all the people I work with, we all have really different backgrounds, because mapping can be used in all kinds of all different ways, right? Sometimes a geologist will use it to make maps of where certain soils and rocks are. Sometimes, like I said, a business will use it to figure out where to put a business or open a business. And then of course there's just the science of actually making maps, the cartography part, which I know you like. A lot of people come at it in different ways. Some people study mapping and cartography specifically. Some people study geography, which is a pretty broad topic. Like I said, my studying was chemistry and environmental studies, but here I am, and I work with a lot of people who come from different backgrounds. But if you're interested in mapping in general, you can really come at it from lots of different places. So there's a lot of flexibility, I think.
As Tom said, there are lots of paths to take to become a cartographer. In high school, it's good to study math, science, drafting, mechanical drawing, and computer science. A cartographer will usually have a bachelor's degree in geography, geomatics, surveying, engineering, forestry, computer science, or physical science. All cartographers need GIS technology and technical skills, including experience with computers. They must be good at web-based mapping technologies and the latest ways to collect data. The average salary for cartographers is about $75,000 a year. Cartography has a lot of connections to science, so I asked Tom about this.
A lot of different scientific disciplines use mapping, and they might use it, like I said, for geology, for looking at where soils or rocks are, for natural resources, looking at wildlife. It's used in looking at diseases and the spread of diseases. Like if I get a cold or the flu, and then you get the flu, and then we look at the spread of the disease on a map and try to figure out patterns and things like that. So there's a lot of science behind, or I should say it this way, mapping is used a lot in different sciences in different ways. So not only can you just make a pretty map of a subway or whatever, but you can use it to do analysis, scientific analysis, for all kinds of things, from disease to wildlife to even just some of the number crunching that goes around looking at trends and how things move is sort of in there. So there's a lot of science. I guess it's a tool for scientists is how I think about the mapping.
I also asked Tom what he thought would be new developments in cartography and mapping.
Maps used to be on paper, and they used to be sort of a picture that never changed, right? So you'd get a map and you'd open it up and you'd use it and you'd look at it and you'd fold it up and you'd put it away. But now, with mapping being on computers and phones and all that, things change a lot faster and they're more up to date. So I think as we move faster, or as we move into the future, we'll see more and more maps that are just updated on the fly. Like they're always up to date and they're always showing you what you want to see. Whereas before, we've always had this sort of, I'm looking at a piece of paper that's just sort of stuck there. So that's probably, the biggest change, is that we'll see a lot more updates and things like that happening.
Wow, who knew that there was so much to know about cartography? It seems like as long as humans have been around, they've been making maps to document where they are and where they want to go. Whether on mammoth tusks, clay, paper, or computer, we've always been making maps. Maps are everywhere. A long time ago, only a few people had access to detailed maps. Now we can carry around giant collections of them on our phones. Not only can maps tell us where we are and how to get where we want to go, they can help us to answer all kinds of questions. Cartography might be a career I choose, but even if I don't, I'll still need to know how to use maps for cities, maps, railways, and even the New York City subways. Even video games like Roblox and Minecraft have their own maps. There are lots of cool technologies that are being used to make exciting digital maps, but I also like paper maps too. There is something about using a paper map. Maybe it connects us to the first cartographers and the maps they made. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to take a map with you on the next adventure.